It is 8:39, Newstalk Sauga 960, Raw Mike Richards on what is a pretty cool day. And I think sometimes as Canadians, when you take a look at those that we sort of honor from time to time, because I'll be honest, there have been a time, depending on your age group, where there wasn't this kind of recognition. And I think this is great. So we've been talking today about Canada's Sports Hall of Fame and those that will receive the Order of Sport. And then Dave said, I can get Lori Kane on tomorrow. I said, why? I'm sure she's won this. She's won everything that we have. She's won all the participation medals. If McDonald's is giving something out, she's got that. I think she was the employee of the month. There is nothing that Lori Kane hasn't won. Why in God's name? Are you serious? She's just getting this now? Do they not like people from Charlottetown? Why is this not happening? And then he goes, yeah. So Lori is joining us here this morning. What a treat. Lori, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Good morning, guys. How are we?
We're fantastic. Now, are you calling us from PEI? Is that where you are right now?
I am calling you from PEI, yes.
Good morning.
Well,
good morning, David.
First of all, congratulations. And I said, the last time I saw you, it was off the record. There was myself, you, and Jesse Palmer. And Jesse, remember, was still at the University of Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but boy, I'll tell you, Lori, since that time, and of course you look at the resume, and it's, as I said, it's sort of obvious to get something like this, but I don't think for someone like yourself, you're a pretty grounded, humble person. I don't think you're looking around for the next thing that you can win. So I'm sure this has to be pretty special for you once again.
Unbelievably humbling. First of all, I mean, it was brought to my attention that a group of people were putting my nomination forward, and I'm like, what? Like, yeah, sure. Like, but never in a million years did I think it would happen like quickly or at all, for that matter. I mean, and then to be in the company of the class of athletes and builders that I am with this 2020 class is I mean, super exciting. Like Steve Nash.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is pretty cool. But the one thing too, Lori, when I look at this list, and including the Willie O'Rees of the world,
Yeah.
who when you do certain celebrity sports events, Willie he's always there. He always has so much energy. He's just a wonderful man. But one of the reasons that you're on this list, that you're getting this, just like the others, it's one thing about what you do on the field of play, which is pretty evident, pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you keep score. But it's the human side of it. It's the humanity in which all of you on that list have contributed more than just the sport, which I know for you has always been important, and certainly for the way that you have represented our beloved maritime provinces, and PEI being just an absolute gem. If people haven't been there, then boy, you're sure missing out. But that's why you're getting this award. It's the humanity about it, and that's why I think it's so special.
And yeah, I have to agree, like looking at the diversity of the group and all kinds of sports, all kinds of personalities. I think it makes the hall, it makes Canada, and it really does tell you how important sport is to developing communities. And we're a big country, but sport keeps us together. And particularly now during this time where we haven't been able to have our sport. I think it's been a challenge. This week, and I'm going to give a little plug to Kids Sport, because I'm a kid of sport. And had I not had sport, things would be much different in Lori Kane's world. School was a challenge, but sport was where I was able to really build confidence and self-esteem, and yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy now that I have a platform that I can help share those stories with, because I mean, I know there's other kids out there just like me that need a shot in the arm with encouragement, and the sporting field of whatever type of sport will help build better people and a stronger nation.
Lori, you talk about Kids Sport. You've been involved with that organization for over 2 decades. What got you first established with them, and what kind of drew you to that was so important, and you've been with them for so long?
So coming from Prince Edward Island and Charlottetown being a very small neighborhood kind of thing, when Kids Sport was established in Calgary and in Alberta, and Jerome McGinley, I thought, well, if it's good for Jerome, it's great for me. And my dad was quick to tell me that here in Charlottetown, the different managers of the rinks that were around the area, the Forum, Simmons, all the establishments that we have here, those people knew who needed some help and were able to get gear to kids that didn't have the ways and means, or get them into hockey. I remember my dad teaching junior lessons at Belvedere, and there's a community next to Belvedere that would be considered maybe a little underprivileged, and he would invite them to come because he felt if we introduce them to golf, then they're going to respect the golf course that's on their next to their neighborhood, rather than coming out and being frustrated that they couldn't be a part of the golf and end up vandalizing or whatever. But dad told me, he said, Kids Sport was happening, it just didn't have a name. And now that it has a name and a place for people to donate money to, what I also love is that every dollar that's given goes directly to kids. It's, the administration costs and all of that kind of stuff are managed by our great supporters. And so every dollar gets to a kid.
We're in conversation with Lori Kane here on Newstalk Sauga 960. Raw Mike Richards. Lori Kane with us, of course, the Canada Sports Hall of Fame inducted. I think they came down, yesterday? Is that when
Yesterday.
This came down? And that means you'll also receive the Order of Sport. So I'm just curious, as we now here, this will go out later on Zoom where people will see this.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find room for more awards? I'm just curious. I don't see a mantle behind me, but I think there might be a room that might be slightly filled with a lot of hardware. Where does this one gonna go? Where are you gonna put this? Or they just go in the garage? Do they go beside like old clubs you don't use anymore and you stuff it somewhere?
No, I don't know where it goes. I have a little bit of a room over here that's there's more hockey memorabilia hanging than my trophies, but it's special, definitely special. I'm totally humbled and honored. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, but thanks.
Well, and Lori, just to follow up a little bit, we talk about sometimes the influence on our Canadian kids, and so everyone comes from a certain influence because they see success from one of their own. And I remember Ken Reed talking years ago. I said, so Ken, what was your influence? He goes, it was Nancy Green, because Nancy Green was from here and she won. So I think for someone like a Brooke Henderson, I would think, and I don't know if you talked to her, but I'm pretty sure that obviously you must have an influence because you were from here, you won. That just spurs on that sort of conversation and that want to play that sport.
Well, that's just Brooke Henderson. Well, if we didn't induct her today, we should, but she'll have to wait a little longer. Unbelievable talent and super nice kid, with all kinds, like 8 wins or 9 wins and more to come. I just hope that anybody that needs a little bit of a boost and has any questions would reach out to me. We've got a lot of talented young Canadian females in all kinds of sport. And yes, golf is my, chosen sport. But there's Brooke and several others that are really making their way and, continuing to grow the game.
Lori, we are getting a question for you via social media this morning. This one's from Jeff. He asks, where were you when you received the phone call from the Hall? Who called you and how did that all go about? I know we've talked to a lot of athletes that have been in the hockey, the football, the baseball Hall of Fame, and they always talk about getting the call. What was it like for you?
Well, so we were just in the very beginning of this whole pandemic and getting ready to lock down. I was in Florida because I was, training to prepare for the season. And we went into a lockdown. And then I received this call from Bob, and he tells me, you're going to be inducted in this class of 2020, and you can't say anything until the press goes down May 27th. So I'm like, oh, great, fun, yeah. Can I tell anyone? No. So I'm very jovial, having fun with my thoughts that day. So but I will be honest with you, it really hit home yesterday when the press release was sent out. And then, I mean, I'm not great with social media. I'm learning a little bit. I'm on Twitter, but like I've gotten, like, it's overwhelming, really, guys. It really is.
Well, it's great to see you recognized, simply because we're very proud of our Canadians. I look at that list, and you'd mentioned Steve Nash. I still think it's one of the most incredible sports stories that almost, if you read it word by word on how he came to be, as I said to Dave, I'm with you up to about Santa Clara, and I still think that's extraordinary. He plays Division I basketball considering his upbringing. But then he's going to go to the NBA, and he's going to be a 2-time MVP. I'm like, okay, well, we went a little Hollywood on that one. I think that's a little much, but that's what he did. And he's also the type of, we talked about that influence. Well,
Right.
My God, I couldn't think about basketball in this country right now with what he has brought to this country, and for
Right.
kids now who, look, Lori, there was a time when you talked about Division I athletics south of the border, that when it came to things like basketball, it would have been a handful of guys. It would have been, I don't know, maybe 5 to 15. They certainly weren't starting, and they weren't their stars. Now our guys are going down. They're the stars of the team, and they're getting drafted #1 overall in the league. It is remarkable. And you were a part of that. You were a part of those people turning on the television and seeing this. But the one question I did want to ask too, and we just talked about Brooke. There was a time where golf was considered country club only. Now, you just talked about your dad, coaching juniors, and it's so important to get the young kids into golf. But there was a time where it wasn't necessarily deemed attainable to be a golfer. If your parents weren't rich, then you weren't playing. When do you think that changed for golf? Because obviously, I mean, Tiger was a big influence, there's no question, globally.
Right.
But when do you think that changed, where you became less a country club person and it became just a good sport to learn good lessons for young people?
Well, definitely, Mike, growing up in Prince Edward Island, I mean, we're not a country club, never have been, and we won't be. So my experience is a little different than most. But I think that there's a lot to be said for the programs that now exist. And yes, there was the Tiger factor, and I think that showed diversity. There wasn't anybody like Tiger playing at the level that he, entered about my first year on tour. So there's a change afoot, and it's been growing, and then add the Olympics into that, and I think golf gets to be put in a whole different category. I thought for a long time, way before they finally did get us into the Olympics, that we should have been in the Olympics. But to your point, we probably were looked at as that country club sport rather than, as I say, a sport of the masses. But I didn't have, growing up, the feeling that that golf we weren't able to play, because, coming from the smallest province, we had lots of golf and accessibility was pretty good. Could it have been better? Yes, for sure. And has it changed? I think it's moving in the right direction. Women's sport in general, and golf is a big part of women's sport now. We really need to do a better job right across the board. You talk about basketball, and Steve Nash and what he's done for Canadian basketball. I think he's not only set a bar for men's basketball, but women's basketball for sure as well, and sport right across the board.
Yes, that's a very key point, and I think that it's reflected in all of you who will be receiving this award. Once again, for people joining us, the Canada Sports Hall of Fame, and it is also, as I said, a long list of tremendous individuals, more than just what they did on the pitch or the court or the ice. So the order of sport also goes along with that. So I'm just thrilled, Lori, that you had time for us here this morning. Now, look, I would say that you're Canada's sweetheart. Except if I say that, You're going to get a nasty phone call from Anne Murray, and I don't think you want that. I really don't. She's tougher than she looks.
Ann and I are pretty good friends. She hasn't asked me to sing on any albums yet.
Not yet.
It's coming.
Yeah, that's right. It's the only thing you haven't done.
I have sung with Tom Cochran.
Oh,
Well, there you go. Yeah, now she's winning music awards now. See what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Thank you so much. By the way, congratulations. I'm very, very happy for you, as I am literally the province of PEI, because obviously you're basically an ambassador for that province that sometimes we don't talk enough about. And as I said, I hope when this is over, when everything has receded and we're able to go out and see our brothers and sisters across the country, I really hope we start to look with what we have within our country. And as I said, PEI is just a gem. And I hope people go out to see exactly the greatness that you're talking about.
Could not say it better.
Thanks, Lori. Take care and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Be good. Thanks.
That is the amazing Lori Kane joining us here this morning. Once again, that is Canada Sports Hall of Fame and the Order of Sport. It is 8:50.